Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Let's just get straight into it. So first of all, congratulations for your milestone of the first year back in April as President and CEO. So what has your greatest achievement been so far in this role?
Thanks for the opportunity. When I took over the position as CEO, we were still deep into the pandemic. But what that also entailed was that we had lost the flagship carrier, which was 40% of the domestic traffic. And then 3 of the major airlines that operated, both domestically and internationally, were in Chapter 11, in bankruptcy. So on the one hand, we were dealing with coming out of COVID. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, you were dealing with this reality in terms of the airlines. And there was actually a new president and a brand new cabinet that came in. So one thing I'm really proud of with the team is that we were able to mesh really well with the new government, focused on helping with the vaccination process for the pandemic, and actually became extremely engaged with the airlines to help them to restart processes, flights, etc. And likewise, to this day, the 3 airlines that were Chapter 11 are already out and have increased dramatically the connectivity of the airport.
Fabulous. And you spoke a bit about COVID, so let's just jump into that. So the airport was the first airport in the region to open back up commercial flights in June 2020, which is incredible. So can we further discuss how the pandemic impacted airport operations and what challenges and changes have you had to face?
Yeah. So kudos totally to the team, because the pandemic was declared in March 2020, which was a disaster, right? Because basically our business went to nothing. But in addition to that, we had to help a lot of the retail providers there. And we were the first airport to reopen to commercial flights on June 1st, 2020, mm-hmm. which was exceptional, right? This was before my time, but the team was just fantastic in terms of how they worked with the local authorities, the Ministry of Public Health, but likewise all the entities involved, particularly the airlines, mm-hmm. because obviously each country had a different process. Perhaps it's important for you to know that we opened on that June 1st. The first airline to fly, or one of the first to fly commercially, was American Airlines. American Airlines is one of the largest, if not the largest airline in the world, right, depending on how you measure it. And they literally told us, the regional head, when we were celebrating the 1-year anniversary of their flights and when they increased their frequencies a year afterwards, they said, you need to know that American Airlines had shut down completely in the entire region. The Mariscal Sucre was the first airport we flew to, and we literally copied the very processes and protocols that you had, and that's how we were able to reopen the entire Latin America for them. So we heard similar things from the likes of United Airlines, Avianca, etc. So we're extremely proud with regards to that. But the other thing in parallel was Ecuador is a beautiful country, but it's very much an emerging market, right? It's not an OECD country. And so there's a lot to be said for how we were in a context where it really wasn't a government who could come in and help, but rather we had to help the government a lot more. And more so than that, we had to build trust with them, because there was just a lot of concern regarding the risk associated with restarting travel. But thank goodness, again, the protocols and the processes that were put in place were such that we reopened, we never had to shut down, and it's just been a continuous growth since. Obviously with a couple of glitches or so, but the team, again, has been fantastic in terms of how they've been able to operate.
Absolutely. And again, the airport is just, it's recognised for so many amazing things. So best regional airport and best airport staff in South America. Let's discuss this a little bit further. So unfortunately, there's some issues going on with the workforce among aviation. So how crucial is the working environment to the success of an airport?
It's fundamental, right? If you follow, for example, the conversations that have gone on today, everybody talks about the traveling passengers, but you have to take care of your people, because if you don't take care of your people, you know, they're there in the end, the ones who take care of the traveling passengers. I think it's very important to differentiate, again, between an emerging market and what we could term as an OECD country. Our reality is very different than what you're seeing in the Netherlands and in England. I have a job opening and I have more than 100 people, if not 1,000 people, apply for that single job. Sadly, there's a very serious issue, just to generalize, in emerging markets in general, but my reality in Ecuador, to where unemployment or sub-employment, what's called the informal economy, is rampant. So whenever a good job gets posted, we actually have a lot of demand for that position. So my problem isn't the reality that Heathrow is facing or Schiphol. It's actually the opposite. I want to grow more so that I can generate more jobs.
Absolutely. And let's pivot this to more about the passenger now. So that idea of personalised experience and a seamless experience.
Yes.
How are you doing this?
I have like a brilliant director of technology. Like, I'll go on and on about my team, right? But we literally had put in place a touchless passenger journey, and perhaps we were one of the few within the region, being the airport that we are. I mean, we're not, you know, we had 5.2 million passengers plus or minus in 2019, for example. So we're not, you know, we're not in Atlanta, Hartsfield Jackson, or a Heathrow. Again, but the team is so committed and so good that we literally had developed an application where you could literally show up and not touch and not interact with a single person, which was like tremendous, and it was like developed in-house and all, and it was urgent also, because again, there was this issue of trust and calmness that we needed the potential traveling passengers to sense, to commit to, and then slowly but surely, again, we were the first to reopen. There was still a lot of fear, but then people started traveling and they said, wait a second, everything works, everything's fine, it's clean. And you had technology like this in place that I think it helped us tremendously. The other issue that you should know about is that one of the things we did is we engaged very actively with our various service providers, like the duty-free operator, food and beverage, etc. And again, it was a lot of communication, but also a lot of technology that went hand in hand. So for example, you could do all your purchases online remotely and literally just pick them up or so. So again, particularly at the beginning where there was fear of interacting or of coming into contact with other people, we were able to minimize that. And likewise to communicate it in a pretty clear manner, which was beneficial, not just to the traveling public, but to the duty-free operator who had to sell, and to us that we needed you know, passengers to travel.
Sounds very, well, it sounds impressive, I must admit. So let's talk about the future. So what some exciting future developments that are going on, and how will this change how Ecuador is viewed by travellers?
Yeah, I'm not originally Ecuadorian, right? But I've been involved in the airport actually for multiple years, and I've been the CEO just for a little over a year or so. It's a stunningly beautiful country, right? The eastern part of the country is the Amazon jungle, and the scientists say that it's like the most diverse corner of the Amazon jungle. Obviously not as big as Brazil, excuse me, or as Colombia, for example, but just unbelievably rich in diversity and beautiful. The central part of the country is the Andes. They're stunning, and you've got volcanoes sprinkled all over the place that are just out of this world. The western part's the Pacific Ocean, with beautiful beaches everywhere, delicious food. And then you have the Galapagos Island, which is like one of the most stunning archipelagos anywhere, right? Everyone should visit it. It should be a bucket list. So where we are right now is we're working very closely, particularly with, for example, the Ministry of Tourism, to develop the brand Ecuador. So people come see it, so they become aware of what the country offers. And then what we're doing in parallel more internally is, for example, we're all in when it comes to biometrics. Right? Everything that's automated, everything that's convenient, everything that communicates well, right? That explains offers that we have, etc. So we're all in when it comes to that. Yeah.
Amazing. And my final question is, when I say the phrase, the future airport experience, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I think I touched on it previously. I mean, we're all into business intelligence right now, data analytics, artificial intelligence. And again, we don't have the scale, for example, to go all in with robotics and all, but the idea of biometrics is huge for us. And it's huge in terms of what we're able to do with the data, because it's not just going to make it a seamless, very comfortable process, again, the passenger journey, but we also think that we're going to be much more sophisticated when it comes to targeting ads in terms of products that people can buy, and just to make it an easier, better experience. And that's just not just for the domestic traffic, but also for the international traffic, which we hope will grow substantially.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time today.